Hey friend, happy Friday. I am in my kitchen today because I am cooking. We had a lot going on today. So I wanted to make this video while I was making lunch. Today I want to talk about hurricane season. I've mentioned before that I've been here for almost 30 years. I've been through quite a few hurricanes. I was here on the Treasure Coast in 2004. If you remember that, you know that we had back-to-back hurricanes that year, and it got wild over here. It was wild. We were out of power for over a month. So I have some experience. We get lots of hurricanes over here. I've been through multiple major hurricanes, plenty of little storms. You'll see that Floridians that have been here for a long time may not seem like they're taking smaller storms seriously. If it's a category 1 or under, I'm probably not going to board up. I'm not going to be panicking. I'm not going to be buying supplies. I'm not going to be running about buying a bunch of water and batteries and getting gas and all of that, because I already have those things. Hurricane season here starts in June. It ends in November. It used to be like the end of June to the beginning of November, and we're getting further and further. We're getting a larger hurricane season every year as the waters warm up. It's now starting in June, ending in late November. And again, this is what's typical. So if a storm pops up in December, that can happen. It just hasn't. Actually, I believe in the 30s. I believe there was a big storm, but in December. Anyway, I digress. Normally, it's beginning of June to the end of November. I've heard people on the internet, some of the Disney influencers like to say that it starts in August. Things get crazier in August, but you need to be aware from June on. Panicking is always going to make things worse. You always want to calm down, take a deep breath. I like to make sure that year-round I have batteries. I always have the batteries that I need for flashlights. If I run low on batteries, I'm going to buy new ones. Even if it's February, make sure you have batteries in your house, always. Canned food. Always have some canned food. Guess what? Those expiration dates aren't real. You know what I mean? It's not that serious. Make sure you always have some canned food. Ramen. Straight noodles. Because guess what? If you lose your power, you got a grill. You can put a pot on that. You can always make noodles. I always have canned goods, noodles. You keep bottled water. It's Florida. You should already have this. You shouldn't be drinking this tap water. We all know it's not good. So you should already have bottled water. Keep it stocked up. Don't be running out the day of. If you run out the day before a hurricane, if you wait for the meteorologist to tell us that there's a hurricane, everyone's freaking out. There are people that have been here for 30 years that still lose their shit every time there's a hurricane. I don't understand. Just calm down. You know the drill by now. Have a plan. Have a plan well before a hurricane comes. When you get that evacuation warning, you get that evacuation warning and the storm's moving quickly, everyone's going to be on their way out. We all know in Florida, there's one way in, one way out. So if everyone's trying to get out at the same time, it's going to be a whole shit show that you don't want to be involved in. Have a plan. If you know that you want to evacuate, if you know that you're not ready to stay for a storm, you need to have your plan set in June. So as soon as they start talking about it, you can get out of here. You don't want to be trying to fly out the day before things come. You want to make sure you have a plan for your pets. The amount of people that leave their pets behind when a crazy storm is coming is insane and disgusting and horrific. Take your pets. Have a plan for your pets. There are plenty of hotels that will allow you to have pets. Do not leave your cats and dogs in your house when there's a hurricane coming and you and the rest of your family are evacuating. That is terrible. You're a terrible fucking person if you even think about doing that. Take your animals with you. Make sure you have food for them. Make sure you have medications for them. You should have all this stuff ahead of time. You should be prepared for hurricane season in the beginning of June, before the beginning of June. Have your medications, have your food, have your pets' medications, have your pets' food, have plenty of supplies. You saw what happened on the West Coast last year. I don't live there. I'm on the East Coast. But as I said, I've been through this. We've done it over here too. It just hasn't been that recent. Honestly, I can't believe we haven't gotten hit recently. You want to not be overbuying frozen things this time of year. If your freezer is full, if you have 2 freezers full of things and you lose your power for a month, that's going to suck. You're going to have to eat all that stuff immediately if it happens. So I keep my freezers kind of low this time of year. If you are going to evacuate and you think you're going to lose power, you can take a cup of frozen water, right? Like take a cup, freeze it, put a quarter on top. Put that in your freezer. So now if you come home, the quarter's on the bottom, you know that all of your stuff melted and refroze and it's not good. Throw it all away. Stay away from standing water. If there's any standing water anywhere, Once the hurricane's over, you never want to go out in that. You don't really want to be driving around at all. It's cool to look at the carnage. It's cool to look at the down trees. But if you drive through a puddle with a live power line in it, you're electrocuted. You're done. You don't want to walk through that. You don't want to drive through that. You don't want to get stuck. I got stuck one time in 2004 when all those hurricanes came. My mom insisted that she wanted to evacuate. And we went to Tampa, and I packed up her child, her nephew, her dog, and her cat. And her dog was this evil fucking Jack Russell at the time. He was terrible. His name was Skippy. Everybody hated him. So I took them over, and the hurricane was going to hit here. And then it went across the state. And then it hit the hotel in Tampa that we were at. So sometimes if the storm looks like it's going to hit the whole state, get out of the state or stay where you're at. Because now now I have to drive back through it. So now I had to drive back across the state. And it's flooded, and I'm so sick of these kids and these pets. And, you know, I'm 20 years old at this time. I don't want to deal with any of this. 19? I don't know. So I saw some water in the road, and I should have stopped and turned around, but I didn't want to be in the car longer than I had to, so I drove through it. I ruined that car. I could have killed everybody in that car. It was a terrible plan. It was a Mitsubishi Galant, and the water was, like, up to the window. That thing, FEMA came. FEMA said they were going to total it because it was too much water damage, and then they ran out of money, and then they gave it back to me 3 months later, and it was a whole thing. So, like, I'll just try not to depend on FEMA too much. They do what they can, but it's a government agency, you know? I mean, it's wildly mismanaged. That's what they do. You just want to be really vigilant after the storm. During the storm, you want to, if you're gonna stay home, you want to make sure that you board up. Don't do any of the duct tape stuff. Right back in the 90s, they used to tell us to duct tape the windows, and then they found out that actually makes things way worse. During what, Andrew? We found that out? So it wasn't a good idea. If you don't have shutters, you can just use boards. Wood is fine. Wood will work. You can absolutely just board up your windows. A lot of people think that you have to be in a block house if you're going to stay. These wooden houses were meant for this. This is a wood frame house. This house was built in the 80s. You know how many storms this house has been through? Quite a few. I'm not really worried about this house. If a crazy 5 comes through, we're pretty far inland. Maybe I would leave then. Now that I have a child, I probably would leave. Like I said, after that Tampa situation, I have not evacuated since. After that, I'm not going anywhere unless something crazy's happening. And by crazy, I mean above a category 5. Well, with the kid, I might leave now. But anyway, just make sure that you have your supplies always. You don't want to be running around getting them last minute. Make sure that you have a plan for you, for your pets, for your whole family. Get your pets their stuff too. Make sure you take them with you. Make sure you're taking care of your house. I talked about the fridge, boarding up. If you can afford shutters, absolutely get shutters. But if you can't, a board will be fine. But just make sure that you're actually boarding up everything, every window. Before a storm's going to come, find out which room in your house has no windows, right? You want to go to, find out if you have a closet or a bathroom or somewhere if things get really, really crazy. My aunt once rode out a hurricane in a bathtub in the Caribbean, Hugo, and it was fine. The house went up. She got in the bathtub, put a mattress over her head. You could try that if you have to. Really, just make sure that you have some flashlights. Make sure that you have some batteries. Make sure that you have food and clean water. A transistor radio if you can. Make sure that you turn all your smart house stuff off. You know what I mean? Like, take your garage. You can change your garage to not be set up to the clicker. Make sure that you have a key to your front door. Don't be relying on your electronic lock. If the electric goes out, you can't get in. Check your local news station's Facebook pages. They will put out posts like this, like just telling you some of the basic things. Your local sheriff's office is always going to tell you where there are shelters. There normally will be a school or some kind of big concrete building that the government owns that they will let people that don't have anywhere to go if you have nowhere to evacuate, but your house is in a low-lying area or on the island, or if you live in a manufactured home, they will open up shelters. There will be plenty of shelters. There will be pet shelters. There will be medical necessity shelters. So definitely you want to follow your local law enforcement on social media. They will let you know when those open, which ones are open, and where you should go if you have a pet or medical needs. You will see Floridians having hurricane parties. That's a thing that we do. You know, it's one of those, if you don't laugh, you'll cry situations. Enjoy it. You know, try to keep your wits about you. You don't want to be completely blackout drunk in case a tornado comes and takes your roof. But go over to Aldi, get yourself some $3 wine. Have a couple of drinks. Loosen up a little so you're not crazy uptight. You know what I mean? Just kind of calm down. Keep your wits about you if you can. A couple of drinks. It's a good time. The Publix used to sell these really cute hurricane cakes. And it would say the name of the hurricane and whatever, and it would have an eye on it, and it was funny. And you'd go and get your hurricane supplies, get your beer, your wine, your hurricane cake at Publix. But from what I understand, some people got upset about that. Probably some of these new people that are not used to how we party and how we do hurricanes down here. So they are no longer selling that. So I would just go to Aldi or Walmart. Honestly, the hurricane cake was the only reason to buy supplies at Publix, in my opinion. So please stay safe. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments. Again, I have been through quite a few of these storms. I don't consider them a super big deal because I've been through so many, but I know that they can, and I don't mean that I take it lightly. I understand that this is serious stuff and that people lose their lives every year. But if we're proactive and we're prepared, there's a lot less chance of something tragic happening. So stay safe, have fun, have a good weekend. Thanks.